Hello, and welcome to Ardor 2 Devlog 5. Last time I said I was going to make the first boss. And I did. Introducing the Fingerpede. But before I talk about this fella, I'm focusing on today's topic, how to stick with long creative projects. I've finished the framework of this game, and am now starting the long road of filling it with stuff. I'll be on the content treadmill for a while, which raises the question, how to stay motivated. Not finishing games is something of a meme in the indie community. Long, complicated projects are always hard to complete, especially if they aren't your day job. There are many people interested in making games, but a very common experience among us is struggling to get to the finish line. Probably the most common indie hobbyist is someone with a string of unfinished games. About 1 to 6 months into each project, a new idea springs up right around when progress on the old one has slowed to a crawl. All time spent creating is valuable, but looking back on a portfolio of abandoned work is discouraging. So, how do we avoid this? Well, the simplest answer is to make games that you can realistically finish, and then have the discipline to stick with them. But just do it isn't helpful. And I think the realistically part of that answer is actually more important. How long you're realistically going to stick with something is part of the calculus of deciding what to make. Your choice of game project will determine what the creative process looks like, which in turn has a big impact on how long your motivation will last. Artists struggling to finish their art is a far bigger issue than just games. Novels, for example, are also famously hard to finish. The advice that's given to all artists is to start small. Seeing a cool thing you made is crucial to the joy of creating, and the smaller your project, the sooner you'll get to see the result of it. Art to me is a feedback loop, where you work on it, step back and think, damn that's cool, damn I made that, which makes you feel good and gives you motivation to work on it some more. Basically nobody has the motivation and discipline to just make themselves do an entire project, start to finish, with no reward. The feedback loop as you work gives you regular joy and satisfaction throughout, as you see a cool thing take shape under your hands. So, if you find yourself abandoning projects, that means the feedback loop isn't functioning right. Think of it as an engine that has to be kept in good working order to carry you onwards. So, back to games. Why does the next game idea always seem so attractive? And why does the current project feel like a slog? Ideas are easy, and they don't yet have to face reality. Your current project used to be a dreamy idea, but now the struggle of making it is painfully real, and the game itself usually isn't quite what you'd envisioned. Your imaginary next game, however, is a perfect vision, and all its difficulties are future problems. All games are ugly and janky when they first start, so your current project can't live up to your imagination yet. The satisfaction of making a cool thing isn't hitting yet. The reality of game dev pushes you to give up. The thing about a string of abandoned projects is that they were probably each left in a sad state. If any of them had been looking really cool and exciting, then you would have kept working on them, which creates a discouraging negative feedback loop. Instead of feeding off your own success, you feel dragged down by repeated failure. So, I ask again, how do we avoid this? Start small. Set achievable goals for yourself. If you start with ambitions well beyond your actual capabilities, you're signing up for a lot of failure before there will be any success. Go easy on yourself and choose an easier path. I'm making a turn-based card battler. Is this my favorite type of game? Not really. My favorite genres, scope and scale are beyond my reach. My skills improve the more I make games, so as time goes on, I can be more ambitious. My next game, or the one after, will be a 3D real-time game, but I get there by using smaller goals as stepstones. Before I could create Ardor 2 in 3D, I made Ardor 1 in 2D. Ardor 1 came from mechanics that I thought were both interesting and achievable by a solo dev of my skill level. And before I could make Ardor 1, I started with a simpler 2D game where I learned a lot of coding fundamentals. Make small projects and finish them before you attempt big ones. When you do start something big, break the task down into bite-sized goals. You want to always have a task in front of you that you know is doable. As you achieve short-term goals, you'll gain confidence in yourself as someone who gets stuff done, and you'll build positive momentum as you start creating a history of success for yourself. Now, of course, often projects that seem very doable can turn out harder than you thought. When you reach a goal, evaluate if the larger project still looks feasible. Games are very iterative, and often you need to get an idea working before you can realize that it doesn't play as well as you thought. There are lots of good reasons to stop or change a project, but it'll feel a lot better if you do so with intention. The scope of making a game will make you feel lost and adrift if you let it, so you need to take control and make sure your creative engine is running well to keep you motivated. All of that to say, development has been a little slow lately due to life getting busy, but I've kept on plugging away, and now Act 1 is finished. 7 levels, culminating in this lovely friend, the Fingerpede. Normally enemies in Ardor are 1 per hex, but this boss acts as a single creature, despite being made of many hex segments. I did something similar with the final boss of Ardor 1, and I really like the effect. It gives the boss fight spectacle and makes them feel unique. It has mechanical benefits as well. When the player destroys middle segments, the two halves act independently. Each separate fingerpede has a head which covers a wide swath of area and damage, so the player needs to avoid creating too many separate fingerpedes, otherwise damage will be inescapable. The heads and tails are armored though, so just grinding down the ends and never bisecting the body is discouraged. I'm happy with the mechanics of this fight. They hopefully create a nice push and pull that pays off the centipede conceit. This level will only take players a few minutes, which taps into the eternal game dev feeling of spending a long time making stuff people will finish in a short time. But I'm pretty satisfied this content is memorable enough to be worth it. Obviously the game is still early, but I'm going to run beta tests once it's further on, and the sign up to participate is now live. I realized I should start collecting testers now, so that by the time I'm launching the beta, I'll have a lot of people. Link is in the description below. Next time, I'll have Act 2 and another boss to show you. I'm also going to start prototyping the second character, and get all their mechanics locked in. For a long time, my work in Ardor 2 has been just recreating stuff from the first game, but I'm finally done building the foundation, so now I can make new stuff that exceeds Ardor 1, and I'm very excited. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.